Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest on the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, so today I have Sheila Kloefkorn on the line, and she's CEO at KEO Marketing and a fractional CMO to mid-market companies. Sheila?
Hi, Adam. Thanks for having me.
All right, Sheila. So I'm excited to talk about today's topic. So of course, we'll get into KEO marketing and how you're helping companies and brands. And also you have a unique vantage point. So you're working also as a fractional CMO for mid-market companies. I think that's a newer concept for many. Maybe they've heard of, fractional CFOs or maybe like outsourcing HR, but I feel like that fractional CMO concept is a little new for many. So I definitely want to get into that with you and what that role entails and how you do what you do. But just to kick this off, we'll start this off like we start all of them with our Mission Matters Minute. So Sheila, we at Mission Matters, we amplify stories for entrepreneurs, experts, and executives. So that's our mission here. Sheila, what mission matters to you?
Thanks, Adam, for having me on the show. This is great. I love that you're focused on mission. I'm really passionate about helping others get more from what they care about. So whether that's an employee in my company, helping them have their dream career, or for our clients, it means helping them achieve the business results they want. I'm really excited about helping people have their dream lives.
That's awesome. Love bringing mission-based entrepreneurs, executives, and experts on the show to share why they do what they do. So let's just to get us started. Of course, we'll talk more about KEO marketing, but maybe just tell us a little bit more about your background and how you got started on this journey.
So I have a background in education, a master's in education, but I've found over the last 30 years that I'm really much better suited at marketing. I led operations for the largest youth marketing agency in the world in the 1990s. And at the time, I commuted from Phoenix to New York pretty frequently. At the end of the 90s, when the dot-com bubble was bursting and the internet was really taking off, we sold that agency. And so wanting to commute a little bit less, I started this agency, KEO Marketing, in 2000. And I knew that the internet was going to be the primary way that companies marketed themselves. At the time, I would have conversations with prospective clients and they would say, are my customers really using the internet? It's hard to believe that today. But over the years, I've really focused on helping companies grow leveraging technology. So I started as a consultant and a fractional CMO for a handful of companies here in Arizona. And then I set up the strategy department for iCrossing, the largest independent digital agency at the time. Mm-hmm. And then I've built KEO Marketing, first as an SEO agency, and then as a full service B2B agency focused on driving leads to fill sales pipelines. And that's what we do today.
So, there's some people watching this that are maybe like they're a year out of college, maybe they're a couple years out of college, and they're thinking about, going down that path of marketing. With so many choices, there's just so much out there. Like, what kind of advice would you give to that next group of potential marketers that are getting started?
Thanks, Adam. Yeah, it's an exciting time to be a part of marketing. It's exciting because we have so many more tools at our disposal to be successful with marketing. Digital has really changed the way that people connect and communicate. It's also made marketing tougher. It's tougher to get in touch with people. Folks typically get 5,000 marketing messages a day between what they get on their phones and the billboards they drive by and television they watch or don't watch, emails in their inbox. It's a very noisy place. But the power of marketing today and digital is that you can also reach people on a one-to-one basis in a way that you didn't used to. So radio advertising, for example, you're blasting your message to all kinds of people and hoping they raise their hand based on what they hear. With digital, we can connect with people through social media, through search engines, through websites in a way that we could never do before. So for young people looking for a career in marketing, I encourage them to just get started. They are digital natives anyway, so they're comfortable with the medium. It's more about learning what kinds of messages will resonate, learning how to make those messages really clear and focused on solving the pains that companies and customers have, and then deciding in their career, just like you would if you were a doctor and you decided what kind of specialist you were going to be. In marketing, you now have the opportunity to become a specialist in digital advertising, in SEO, in copywriting, in design. You have a lot of options.
Yeah, there's just so much out there now. Like when I think about even when I graduated college was kind of like when Facebook was just coming about and we just started kind of going that next step into what's possible with social media. And I remember at that time thinking like my mind was blown. I couldn't wrap my head around it. I don't know if I can still wrap my head around it, honestly, Sheila. I mean, there's so much out there. There's so much to choose. And, you know, with the way that devices are now operating and the way we rely on them and the way that information's being, you know, pushed to us, some that we want, right? Like some that makes our life better, and some that maybe we don't always want, but it makes our way into our life either way. So lots of different ways to look at it. But as I see like all this opportunity, if I'm like just kind of getting started again, I'm like, man, like it really is the world is like you have so much you could possibly do. And I love your example of a doctor then going and picking their specialist, or when they become a specialist to then maybe narrow down what you actually like and what you like doing. So I think this is a good transition. I want to go further into, we kind of talked about in the beginning, just briefly, the idea of a fractional CMO and what that means. Maybe just start off with kind of defining that concept for us. I don't want to assume everybody watching this kind of understand what that entails.
Sure. Thank you. So a fractional chief marketing officer is a head of marketing that is part-time with your company. So what that means is that for mid-market companies in particular, they typically have a couple of marketing people on their team. So if they're 5 million to 50 million or so, they've probably grown and bootstrapped what they've been doing in terms of marketing. They may have a head of marketing and an assistant, something like that. But today, marketing is more sophisticated than ever, and achieving standout marketing and sales results requires specialists with lots of experience, and that becomes expensive. That's what big companies can afford to have, is big marketing team and a CMO. So what we've done is we've innovated the concept of a part-time or fractional head of marketing, a fractional CMO, and we combine that with the support of an agency team. So for more than 20 years, I've been an outsourced chief marketing officer, and we've also provided a marketing team to cost-conscious companies who demand outstanding results. This enables them to get an experienced marketing team and a CMO for a fraction of the cost of hiring an in-house marketing department. It allows companies to take their marketing strategy and their marketing results to the next level, and it allows mid-market companies to achieve the ROI their marketing investment deserves.
No, it's great. And I love the concept, first off. So just like for maybe somebody that's watching that's heard of, you know, the fractional CFO role where somebody comes in and they have a certain level of expertise, and it's like you may have a successful business, lots of other things, and you may have great people. That's a thing. And I like that you bring this up. You may already have, you know, a head of marketing. You may already have a great marketing team. So it's not saying that your current marketing team's not doing what they should be doing. It's just saying that to get that next level of expertise to really grow that revenue. So, you know, you mentioned 5 million plus, maybe a mid-market company and what they're currently doing. So it's like when you're thinking about like, how do you break through to that next level? It's going to take a different level, a different vantage point. Somebody that's maybe worked with bigger companies, has more experience in certain areas to even be able to reframe the way things are being done, because the way the things are being done right now are working well, but they don't necessarily get you to that next level. Am I understanding that correct? I just want to make sure I'm understanding.
Yep, you've got it exactly right. And for an owner or a CEO of a mid-market company like that, they need to be able to compete with bigger companies. They are most likely selling to those bigger companies. They need messaging that resonates with those bigger companies. And that's hard to do with a very small in-house team who are most likely generalists. Today, to be successful, you need specialists who know about how to deal with Google's algorithm and LinkedIn's changing algorithm to get leads out of those platforms. You need specialists who can write copy for landing pages different then emails. You need a senior level person who can help define the strategy. And if you have a fractional CMO and a team, you will avoid having to manage that marketing yourself, which takes you away from what you're best at. It allows you to avoid expecting too much from the generalists on your team. And most of all, it helps you avoid building out an expensive senior level marketing team that you may not have the budget for. So for most people say, well, what does that mean? What it really means is that you can get a senior level CMO and a team for about the same cost as hiring a full-time CMO. So the resources are better used. You can get a $2 million marketing team for a fraction of that cost, for a couple $100,000, in fact, and you can get better results faster. So to give you an example, we have a company that had, it's a SaaS platform in the human resources industry, and they had struggled they'd outsourced marketing, they'd had some in-house marketing teams, they had some folks offshore help them. They really were struggling to find the right mix. We came on, and first we just started with helping them with improving their message and their copywriting. From there, it evolved into helping them with their strategy. How could they double the revenue of the company in a year? So we outlined a strategy for that. Then we helped them redefine their website and increased conversions 48%, meaning 48% more leads within 2 weeks of the website launching.
Wow. Hold on. I don't want to glance over that one. Say that again. That's amazing.
So by redefining their message and changing their website, including just changing where the request a demo button was on their website, we were able to increase their qualified leads by 48% within 2 weeks of launching the website. So there's a lot of moving parts to an engagement like that. That's typically hard to scale and double the size of a company in just a year. But we have a lot of experience doing that. So we can help the in-house team do it faster, help the company scale faster and achieve their goals.
And so sometimes people don't. So when you use words like improve messaging, right? Like that, for some people, that's kind of like pie in the sky stuff, right? Like we have our messaging, we have our, this is what's worked, this is what has always worked. And I feel like sometimes there's this bias, and I'll pick on myself here. Like I've gone through this with our business here, and I'm like, but this is the way we do things. Like this is the way it's done, and well, it works this way. And it's like, I feel like that outside, like there's an added benefit of having that outside, those outside perspectives of what you're doing. Because even if you have the best in-house marketing team, they're great, they're agile. Even if you expect too much of them and they make the generalist position and they still get it done, there's still something to be said for having that outside view of somebody that's actually going to get in the weeds and actually do the work too. So it's not just a consulting thing. It's like you have the marketing backup as well in terms of your team. So can you tell me just a little bit more about that, like that advantage?
You're absolutely right. It's one thing to have a strategy. It's another thing to be able to execute on it, and to execute on it quickly and nimbly. And so that's what my team does. We have a team of 29 people who are all specialists in their particular area, whether it's email marketing or digital advertising or social media or website development or copywriting. And they have experience and a big track record for knowing what works. So that helps a company scale faster just in that way. We also do a lot of work up front to clarify a company's message. So the number one reason that companies typically fail is not because they don't have a good website or they don't have a good product. It's because the way they communicate about that product or service is somehow not clear. So if we don't identify how do you help your prospective clients or customers, if we can't make it very easy for us to understand, for them to understand how we solve their problems, then we're not going to be successful. So I'm a certified story brand guide, which means that I'm skilled and certified in a method of messaging that makes any type of content, whether it's a website homepage, whether it's an email, whether it's a sales presentation, perform better because we put you in the shoes of your customer. We do a lot of work for technology companies, and most technology companies are built by engineers who really love their products, and their websites read as though they are the features of those products. And they somehow expect a prospect to say, oh, I see those features. I have these pains. I, in my mind, can make that connection myself. And so there's a big disconnect. And when you make a prospect do that mental gymnastics themselves, you lose them because we are moving too fast. You typically have between 3 and 10 seconds to have an ad, a landing page, a social media post be understood. So what we do is we help clarify that message so that your prospects will understand how you help them much more quickly. And then we've built a system to generate leads based on that messaging.
Awesome. I want to go further into KEO marketing. So I understand, of course, we understand now up to our conversation at this point. So outsource CMO services, of course, you have the agency behind you can actually execute also, and not just consult, so to speak. So let's go further though. So what does like a typical engagement typically look like?
Sure. So an engagement typically starts with what we call a setup. Well, it first starts with an audit. So even before we work with you, we would perform an audit of your marketing and give you a roadmap for success. There's no cost to that. Most agencies charge $2,000 to $5,000 for an audit like that. Ours goes into a lot more detail, and there's no cost for that audit. Once we have the audit, we can come up with a strategy for how to help the company hit their goals. Some companies have really defined goals, meaning they want to increase their revenue by a factor of 2 in a year or in 3 years. Some companies want to launch into a new market, for example. So we identify what are the goals and then what is the strategy to get there. And then we set up an engagement based on that. So if we're generating leads to fill a sales pipeline, we might leverage inbound marketing. That includes SEO, social media, advertising, those kinds of things. If they have a different kind of product that has a very limited audience, for example, we had a semiconductor company that only created semiconductors that would be used by about 200 companies in the world, then inbound marketing isn't the way to go. Outbound marketing is a better way to go. So we would leverage outbound emails, outbound LinkedIn, outbound direct mail to get in front of those companies and make the case for why our client is doing better. So we leverage inbound and outbound to take advantage of demand if people are already searching for what you have in social media and in search engines. But we also leverage outbound marketing as well as events and other traditional marketing avenues to help companies get in front of the right people, make the case so that they engage with the company.
So you mentioned that you work, I believe, with SaaS companies often. Tell us a little bit more about like what niches get the most value out of working with you and your team.
Sure, thank you. So we work with a lot of technology companies. So software as a service platforms, data centers, managed IT services companies, cybersecurity companies, anybody in technology who needs more leads to fill their sales pipeline is a good fit for us. We also do work in construction. We work with a lot of companies that sell supplies to contractors, for example. We work in human resources to help companies hire and retain better people. We've worked with a wide variety of companies over the years, but we typically work for just 15 clients at any one time. We want to make sure that they have the full backing of our team to help them be successful. And we want to make sure that we hit it out of the ballpark for them. Most of our clients stay with us for 2, 3, 5, 10, 12 years, a long time, because they get this system in place and then they're able to know for this cost per lead, for this sale, I'm going to deliver this much revenue. You know that it costs $5,000 or $10,000 per highly qualified lead, but you know that that sale is going to be a $200,000 sale or a $100,000 sale. You do that over and over because you have the data to support the investment.
No, it makes total sense. And you answered one of my other questions, which is what does a typical like engagement look like? So we're talking about like you're creating real relationships here. You're really getting to know their business, and these clientele, I mean, they're with you for years, and that's the point here. So this isn't another and not downing anybody else's model, but this isn't another like put a band-aid on it, quick, marketing company. We're gonna fix your website. We're gonna fix this. We're gonna do this and this, and then, go on your way. No, this is, you're held accountable there on your end of the bargain in terms of what you're doing, and they want to see, the work in terms of like what their ROI could be long term. Does that sound kind of accurate in terms of the investment in each other, I should say, because this is 100% an investment in each other here. You obviously your team, but also the company too.
You're absolutely right, Adam. These are long-term engagements. It usually takes somewhere between 2 and 6 months to get a program running and humming and delivering the leads that the company wants, to implement the strategy, redefine the messaging, those kinds of things. So we are not, some agencies are really focused on creative, or some agencies are really focused on SEO. We're different because we're focused on the overall strategy of growing the business in the way that the executive team of that business wants it to be grown. And then we're really focused on implementing, as you've noted, to help that be successful. So as a fractional CMO, I typically sit on the executive team. I attend weekly or biweekly executive meetings. I attend strategy meetings. I'm talking one-on-one with the head of sales, the head of product, the head of operations. And what that does is it enables the CEO to be free to focus on what they want to do, the CFO to focus on what they do best. And they can trust that there's a leader leading that effort, as opposed to most agency relationships where somebody inside the company still has to be the point person translating between the head of operations and sales and marketing and those kinds of things.
No, it makes total sense. And so my next question, I don't want this to feel loaded or be unfair, right? But I do like to provide my audience with a little bit of tools and like, actionable items and tips. So when I ask this question, of course, every company is going to be different. Every company is going to have different, needs and wants and different things going on, especially depending on the size of the company. So again, but I do know, based on how long you've been in the industry and with, the different levels of clientele you've worked with, that certain themes tend to arise like over and over again. So when you get in there and you start getting the weeds, you're like, oh, this, okay, I can start to see the picture coming together, right? So that being said, what kind of common errors do you find that many companies that you're working with that are looking to break through to that kind of that next level, if you will, and whether it be revenue, whether it be whatever their objective is, what kind of errors do you find come up over and over and over again?
Well, I wouldn't say that they're really errors. I think they're more oversight. I think that most people who build great companies, and if you've gotten to 5 million or 10 million or 20 million, you've definitely built a great company.
Yes.
You get really close to your product and service. And you're so focused on building that product or platform or what have you. And you communicate about that product or platform or service the way that you know it. And you assume that your prospects or customers know what you know. And so it's a blind spot. So that's probably the first thing. And that's why digging in on the messaging and making sure that your messaging is client or prospect focused is so important. So that's the first one. The second one is that most companies believe that if they just get more traffic to their website, the rest will sort of all work itself out. And the reality is getting more traffic to your website isn't better. Getting better traffic to your website is better. And so for most companies, it's sort of the 80-20 rule. 20% of your clients or customers probably deliver about 80% of your revenue. So what we want to do in starting out is figure out what are those 20% that give you the best margin, that are the best clients to work with, that give you the best upsell opportunities, and how can we get you more of those? Then we want to put a strategy together for you to get more of those leads so that your salespeople can focus on those and you can grow your business faster.
Oh my gosh. I feel like as you're listing these, I'm like, Sheila, are you already sitting on my executive board? like these are my mistakes. These are some of the things that I do. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. And I can tell when some of these come up, especially like the one about your messaging. And we're still a small company. So we have, 15 people here, right? So we're not a big media company, but we put out a lot of content and we just brought on a couple new people. And when we did, that's when because we're still small enough to kind of feel it when they don't understand messaging. Or if they're confused, then everybody else is too out there if they're confused in a product, right?
Right, exactly. But 15 is nothing to shake a stick at. You're doing great.
Thank you. Thank you for that. But so I'm still small, we're small enough to still see when if the new hire doesn't understand what we're doing exactly, then our messaging must not be completely on. So if a new person's going to our website for, 30 seconds or 50 seconds, like then they're not going to get it. So it's really telling. And then the other part about quality of traffic and who you want to see it, like, man, you hit all my hot buttons today. This is great.
Well, great. Thanks, Adam.
That being said, this has been great. I've gotten a lot of insight into, obviously, of course, the CMO, fractional CMO role. And as we get bigger, I will be 100% be considering this. I mean, it just makes perfect sense. And as we grow, we're looking at different ways to grow our businesses. I know a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs out there that watch this are doing the same. So I'll start off by asking you, like, so what's next? I mean, what's next for you? What's next for KEO Marketing? Like, what's next?
Sure. Thank you. So we are really focused on providing great fractional CMO and agency services to our clients. But one of the things that we've started leveraging even more in the last year is artificial intelligence. How can we automate some of the tasks of marketing to make them more efficient? And that includes everything from there's marketing automation that we can use to deliver messages at the right time with the right message to the right people. There's artificial intelligence. Nearly every marketing platform, whether it's your email marketing platform, your CRM, your customer relationship database, and your ERP, any software you're using leverages artificial intelligence. But today, to be effective in marketing, you need to be authentic, and you need to almost have a one-to-one relationship at scale with thousands or hundreds of thousands of people. So to do that, you can leverage artificial intelligence to help you be there at the right time in the right place with the right message more effectively. Artificial intelligence is being used extensively with Google. So if you're running Google Ads, for example, today, you can set up your own ads and you can manage that themselves. By this time next year, you will not be able to decide what the ad text will be on your ads. Google's going to decide for you. You're going to give them some tips, you're going to give them some messages, but they are going to decide what ad is going to perform better for you. So unless you're ahead of that, you're not going to be successful. And that's what we specialize in.
And this goes back to, in my opinion, the benefit of a fractional CMO, and to have a team out there that's staying ahead of the curve on all this stuff. So like an in-house team, I mean, to not only carry out the day-to-day, marketing efforts, in my opinion, that's always going to be a big task, and that's a main focus. But now to stay ahead of what's next on things like automation and what you just mentioned with Google, like that's a lot. That's a lot. And if you don't have the resources to have that, that more full built out team, so to speak, or somebody, or the resources to get, that just focusing on these items, that fractional CMO thing just becomes a game changer, in my opinion. What excites you in automation right now? I'm just curious to get your opinion on that, because I see so much happening, and to me, it's like I'm like a kid in a candy store. I'm like, oh, can we automate that? We can automate this. Let's do it. Like, what else can we automate? Like, what excites you right now?
Well, I'm excited about automation as it relates to reporting. So typically in marketing, you have a variety of platforms. So you have your Google ads, LinkedIn ads, you have your CRM database of what's happening in sales. You have data from maybe operations or customers, and it's not all in one dashboard. And so there are some pretty cool, even free tools like Google Data Studio to help pull that data in together and create the dashboards that you need to make decisions much more quickly. So that's an area where automation and artificial intelligence can be helpful. But really, every aspect of marketing is changing. In 10 years from now, your Alexa, your Siri may be making decisions for you. What kind of toothpaste you want? What type of content do you read? That's already happening. And in 10 years, it's going to be happening at a much, much bigger scale. So just think about everything you do and how could it be done more efficiently with technology. That's happening in marketing, just like it's happening everywhere.
Ah, it's exciting. I can talk to you about this all day long, Sheila, but we're about out of time on this episode. So that being said, if somebody's watching this and they want to learn more about KEO marketing or to connect with you and your team, I mean, what's the best way for them to do that?
Sure. The best way is to go to our website. It's keomarketing.com. If you're interested in the Fractional CMO program, all you need to do is go to services and scroll down to Fractional CMO, and you can request that complimentary audit. If you're a B2B company, we'll do the audit for you. If you're a B2C company, we will refer you to one of our agency partners who focuses on B2C business. But again, keomarketing.com. Go to services, select Fractional CMO, and request the audit. Or you can also find me on LinkedIn. Just do a search for Sheila Kloefkorn.
Fantastic. Well, Sheila, it has been great having you on the show today. I mean, I learned a lot. I'm sure our audience got a lot of it as well. And speaking of the audience, to everybody listening, if you're a first-time visitor, don't forget, we want you to hit that subscribe button. We want you to be a return visitor or listener. We have many more mission-based entrepreneurs and executives coming up, and we don't want you to miss a thing. And Sheila, really, it has been a pleasure, and I learned a lot and look forward to continue to watch the journey and watch KEO Marketing. So thank you.
Thank you, Adam. It's been an honor to be on your show. You've got an incredible community that you're building.